Commander Lyra of the Varelians moved silently across the bridge of her flagship. The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewports, cold and distant. She had seen many worlds, many civilizations, but none intrigued her and irritated her at the same time like humans did. They were unpredictable, fragile, and reckless, or so she thought. The Varelians had long believed that humans were incapable of real courage. Their technology was primitive compared to the great empires of the galaxy. Their bodies were weaker, their minds less disciplined. Yet here they were, part of a joint mission to secure the planet Orinthia, a world rich in resources that could tip the balance of power. Lyra's eyes narrowed as her sensors picked up a human battalion landing on Orinthia. The humans moved awkwardly at first, stumbling over rocky terrain, communicating in noisy bursts that sounded almost chaotic. She frowned. "I don't see what my superiors see in them," she muttered to herself. "They are nothing but untrained, fragile creatures." Yet among the humans one stood out. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and moved with quiet purpose. Even in the chaos of the landing, he gave orders calmly, directing his team with authority. His uniform bore the insignia of Captain Elias Kane. Lyra studied him, curiosity pricking at the edge of her skepticism. There was something different about this human. A sudden alert flashed across the bridge. Rogue mercenaries had entered Orinthia, taking advantage of the ceasefire. They were targeting both human and Varelian forces. Lyra's first instinct was to withdraw, to keep her soldiers safe, but she hesitated when she saw Elias reacting. Without waiting for orders, he sprinted toward the danger, coordinating his team with calm precision. Bullets flew, energy shields flared, and explosions rattled the terrain. Yet Elias moved with an instinct that was rare among humans. He saved 2 soldiers trapped under debris, then redirected a squad to protect a collapsing supply depot. Lyra watched silently, her initial disdain wavering. "Perhaps some humans are not as weak as I thought," she murmured, but she refused to admit admiration aloud. Pride ran deep in Varelians, and admitting respect for a human could be seen as weakness. The battle raged for hours. Lyra's Varelian soldiers fought alongside the humans, and together, they managed to repel the mercenary forces. When the dust settled, the field was littered with debris and scorched earth, but lives were saved thanks to quick thinking and cooperation. Lyra approached Elias cautiously. She studied his face, calm, alert, and unshaken despite the chaos. "Captain Kane," she said, her tone formal. "Your actions were effective." Elias looked at her, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "I do what I must to keep my team alive." "You're Commander Lyra, correct?" "Yes," she said, folding her arms. "Tell me, human, do you always act so recklessly?" Elias smiled faintly. "Reckless? Or adaptable? Sometimes rules and plans can get you killed. You have to trust your instincts." Lyra raised an eyebrow. Instincts. That was exactly what she had thought humans lacked. Yet here was a human standing firm, confident, and alive. Something about him challenged her understanding. Over the next few days, the humans and Varelians continued the mission. Lyra observed Elias closely. He was not just brave. He was thoughtful, strategic, and compassionate. When a human soldier fell ill, Elias refused to leave him behind, personally overseeing his evacuation. When a Varelian scout was trapped under rubble, Elias directed human soldiers to help. Lyra's curiosity grew alongside her unease. She had never seen humans act with such coordination and courage. Her people valued efficiency and discipline. Yet Elias' team, though not as disciplined, achieved the same results through trust and initiative. One evening, as the twin suns of Orinthia dipped below the horizon, casting orange and violet light across the rocky terrain, Lyra found herself standing near the human camp. Elias was there, speaking quietly with his soldiers, his presence commanding yet gentle. She noted how the humans responded to him, not with fear but with loyalty. Her internal conflict deepened. Varelian doctrine emphasized distance from humans. They were to be studied, controlled, or avoided. Yet Lyra felt a pull she could not explain. The human captain represented something unexpected, a possibility that humans were not weak, but perhaps capable of far more than her people believed. The next day, Lyra and Elias were forced to work together when a supply convoy was ambushed by a mercenary strike team. The attackers had superior numbers, but Elias moved with instinctive brilliance. He positioned his soldiers in ways Lyra would not have considered, using the terrain to their advantage. She followed his lead, initially skeptical, then reluctantly impressed as the humans executed the plan flawlessly. After the skirmish, Lyra confronted Elias privately. "I must admit, your methods are unusual," she said. "But effective." Elias tilted his head. "Sometimes, Commander, effectiveness comes from seeing opportunities others ignore." Lyra paused, realizing that the truth in his words applied to more than just battle strategy. She could not ignore the possibility that humans might see the universe differently. Not weaker, just different. That night, Lyra returned to her quarters. She stared at the holographic map of Orinthia, thinking about Elias and his team. A thought gnawed at her. Could humans truly be more than fragile creatures? Could they be allies in a galaxy where strength and cunning often determine survival? The question remained unanswered, but one thing was certain. Elias Kane had done what no other human or Varelian had done before. He had made her doubt her beliefs. As the moons of Orinthia rose, casting silver light over the jagged cliffs, Lyra felt a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Doubt was not a feeling she welcomed, but it had taken root. For the first time in her career, she wondered if humans might deserve more than her skepticism. And somewhere deep within her, she felt a stirring of something new, a cautious hope that perhaps one human could change more than just her opinion. Little did she know, this was only the beginning. Captain Elias Kane would test not only her assumptions about humans but her beliefs about courage, loyalty, and even the possibility of a bond that transcended the boundaries of species. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, had set the stage for an encounter that could reshape alliances and perceptions forever, and Commander Lyra, once certain that humans were incapable of greatness, would soon discover that one soldier could challenge everything she had ever known. The first spark of doubt had ignited. The morning sun of Orinthia cut through the mist, painting the rocky terrain in shades of gold and gray. Commander Lyra stood on a cliff surveying the route to the lost research facility deep within the northern valleys. The facility was rumored to contain technology that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. Whoever controlled it could secure their people's future for generations. Lyra's mind was restless. She could not stop thinking about Captain Elias Kane and his human soldiers. Their courage had impressed her, yet she remained wary. Humans were still unpredictable, still fragile, or so she thought. But Elias had shown something different. Something rare, her communicator buzzed. "Commander Lyra, the humans are ready for movement," reported Lieutenant Varro, her second-in-command. Lyra nodded. "Very well. Keep your soldiers in formation. We move at dawn." As she descended the cliff to the assembly point, Lyra noticed Elias waiting for her. He stood straight, his uniform clean despite the rough terrain, and his eyes scanned the horizon with calm confidence. "Commander," he said, nodding respectfully. "Shall we go over the plan?" Lyra considered. She could ignore him, command the Varelian squad alone, but something told her this human might surprise her again. "Yes, Captain Kane, show me your plan." Elias unrolled a holographic map. His team had scouted a hidden path through the northern cliffs, a route that avoided most of the enemy patrols. "We take this pass," he explained, "and approach the facility from the east. Fewer enemies, and the terrain gives us natural cover. Your forces provide support from the ridge." Lyra studied the map. The approach was riskier in theory, but the plan was clever. The humans would move quickly through narrow passes, while the Varelians provided long-range cover. She raised an eyebrow. "Unconventional," she admitted. "Effective," Elias replied simply, a hint of a smile on his face. The march began. Varelian soldiers moved with precise synchronization, their steps quiet and controlled. Humans followed Elias's lead, less rigid but surprisingly organized. Lyra observed them carefully. She noticed how Elias communicated without raising his voice, how his gestures guided his team, and how each human moved instinctively to protect the other. For hours, they trekked through rocky valleys and dense forests. The air was thin and the terrain unforgiving, yet Elias's human soldiers never complained. Lyra found herself respecting their resilience. Humans were different from Varelians, yes, but perhaps their differences were strengths in disguise. As they neared the facility, a sudden ambush erupted. A squad of enemy drones dropped from above, their energy rifles firing with deadly precision. Humans and Varelians dove for cover. Lyra quickly took command of the Varelian flank. her fingers moving across the control panel to deploy shields and countermeasures. Elias shouted orders, guiding his team through the chaos. "Left flank, cover the ridge. Jensen, get the fallen soldier out. Move!" Lyra watched in silent amazement. The humans were fearless yet disciplined. They adapted quickly, covering each other and responding to changing threats with intelligence rather than panic. Elias himself moved between soldiers, shielding them with his body, calculating risk in real time. When the last drone was destroyed, Lyra found herself standing next to Elias, adrenaline still pumping. "Your team is impressive," she admitted. Elias shrugged. "We do what we must. Survival isn't about rules. It's about understanding the battlefield and protecting those who rely on you." Lyra frowned. Protecting others. Humans seemed to care in ways Varelians often did not. Her species valued efficiency, results above all else. Yet here was a human whose care did not slow him down. It strengthened him. They pressed on, moving quietly toward the eastern approach. The closer they got, the more Lyra noticed the humans' adaptability. When rocks tumbled unexpectedly or paths became blocked, Elias's team responded instantly, using ingenuity rather than brute force. Lyra's thoughts drifted uncomfortably. Perhaps humans were not fragile. Perhaps they were capable. That night they made camp in a hidden valley, safe from enemy patrols. Fires glowed softly and the smell of cooked rations filled the air. Lyra found herself standing at the edge of the camp, watching Elias speak quietly with his soldiers. His presence calmed them, inspired trust. "Why do they follow you so willingly?" she asked, stepping closer. Elias looked at her, expression calm. "Because they know I won't abandon them. Because they see that I trust them, and they trust me in return. Leadership isn't about fear. It's about trust, respect, and shared purpose." Lyra studied him. Respect, trust, shared purpose. These were qualities Varelians rarely saw in humans. Yet here they were, alive and powerful. "I've always thought humans were weak," Lyra said cautiously, almost whispering. "I thought we would always be stronger, more capable." Elias smiled faintly. "Strength isn't just about muscle or technology. Sometimes it's about heart, mind, and spirit. Humans have that in ways many cannot measure." Lyra felt a strange warmth. She resisted it, focusing instead on the mission. Yet the words lingered in her mind as she watched the humans interact with one another, laughing quietly, helping each other, and remaining alert even in rest. The next morning they continued their journey. The facility was closer now, hidden among jagged cliffs and dense foliage. Enemy patrols were scattered, but danger was never far. Lyra and Elias moved in tandem, their strategy blending Varelian precision with human adaptability. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ground ahead. A bridge they intended to cross had collapsed. The only path forward was a narrow ridge, perilous and exposed. Varelians would have hesitated, analyzing risk endlessly. Humans acted differently. Elias scanned the ridge. "We can cross, but we must move quickly. Follow my lead." He ran first, jumping across unstable rocks, signaling his team to follow. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then followed. Her Varelians were precise but cautious, keeping close to the humans, adapting as they went. Midway across the ridge, a rock slide triggered by the enemy's sabotage sent boulders tumbling toward them. Elias acted without hesitation, pushing a soldier out of the way, guiding others with precise commands. Lyra's own instincts kicked in as she shielded a group of Varelians. The humans moved fluidly, instinctively supporting one another, and together they reached the other side safely. Lyra breathed deeply, feeling her skepticism crumble. Humans were not weak. They were clever, adaptive, and courageous. Elias Kane embodied all of these traits. That night, as they finally reached the edge of the research facility, Lyra approached Elias. "Captain Kane," she said softly, "I underestimated you. All of you." Elias met her gaze calmly. "Perhaps underestimation is easy when you don't know the full measure of someone. But I hope this changes your view." Lyra nodded. Her pride still whispered caution, but something inside her had shifted. Humans were not the fragile creatures she once believed. They were capable allies, perhaps even equals in ways she had never imagined. The facility loomed ahead, dark and foreboding. Security systems hummed with energy, and the air was tense with anticipation. Lyra and Elias shared a brief glance. For the first time, they felt a true sense of partnership, not just as soldiers of different species, but as equals working toward a common goal. Inside the camp, soldiers prepared for the operation. Humans checked their weapons, Varelians adjusted shields, and both sides exchanged nods of mutual respect. The bond that had begun on the battlefield was growing stronger. Lyra realized that this mission was more than securing technology. It was a test of understanding, trust, and the courage to accept differences. Humans and Varelians together could achieve what neither could alone. As the twin moons of Orinthia rose above the cliffs, Lyra felt a strange mixture of apprehension and hope. She had doubted humans. She had questioned their worth. But now, standing beside Elias Kane and his soldiers, she felt the stirrings of respect and admiration. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that humans were not just capable, they could change the course of history. And Captain Elias Kane was the proof she could no longer ignore. The path ahead would be dangerous, full of traps, enemies, and impossible choices. Yet Lyra felt ready. She had learned something invaluable. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but unpredictability was not weakness. It was strength. And as she followed Elias toward the research facility, she realized that her journey of doubt was only beginning. One soldier had changed everything. The research facility loomed ahead, a dark monolith hidden among jagged cliffs. Its surface was metallic, smooth and foreboding, reflecting the pale light of Orinthia's twin moons. Lyra studied it carefully, noting the advanced security systems embedded in every wall. This was no ordinary installation. Whoever built it had intended to keep intruders out at any cost. Elias Kane approached with his team, moving silently but confidently. The humans had proven their adaptability, and Lyra now trusted them in ways she would not have admitted a few days ago. The Varelians, though precise and disciplined, still watched the humans with a mix of skepticism and awe. "We need to access the facility's core," Elias said, pointing to a secure terminal near the main entrance. "From there we can secure the research and prevent it from falling into enemy hands." Lyra nodded. "We must proceed carefully. The facility is booby-trapped and heavily guarded by automated defense systems. One wrong move could trigger alarms." Elias smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure we don't make any wrong moves." The team moved forward, blending human ingenuity with Varelian precision. Elias led his squad through hidden side corridors, bypassing pressure-sensitive floors and laser grids, with calculated jumps and quick thinking. Lyra followed, impressed by his instincts. The humans moved with a rhythm that seemed almost natural, avoiding dangers that would have required hours of calculation for a typical Varelian squad. At one junction, a large chamber opened before them. A holographic map flickered in the air, showing multiple layers of defenses and traps. Lyra studied it, her fingers dancing across her control panel. "We need to disable the energy nodes," she said. "Otherwise, the main doors will remain sealed." Elias examined the map quickly. "We don't have time for prolonged hacking. I can create a distraction while my team disables the nodes." "Varelians, you cover us from above." Lyra hesitated. The plan was risky, but it relied on trust, and trust had become something she had to extend to humans. She gave a slight nod. "Very well, proceed." The operation began. Elias sprinted forward, triggering a series of lights and alarms that drew attention away from his team. Humans moved with agility, climbing, crouching, and coordinating silently to disable the energy nodes. Lyra directed Varelian forces to provide precise cover fire, neutralizing automated defenses with efficiency. For the first time, Lyra truly saw the humans' ingenuity in action. They were fearless yet intelligent. Their instinctive movements and ability to think under pressure complemented Varelian precision perfectly. Suddenly, a hidden turret activated, targeting Elias. Without hesitation, he dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast, and shouted commands to his team. One human soldier responded instantly, using a portable shield to block another shot, while another disabled the turret with a well-aimed strike. Lyra's eyes widened. Humans adapted in ways Varelians could not. They relied not on rigid training but on intuition, creativity, and teamwork. Elias Kane embodied all these qualities. Finally, the last energy node was disabled. The main doors of the facility opened with a hiss, revealing a corridor filled with strange machinery and glowing panels. The facility's core pulsed with energy, a heart of technology that promised immense power. Elias led the way, moving cautiously through the corridor. Lyra followed, keeping a close watch on the humans' movements. She could no longer deny it, humans were not weak. They were capable, adaptable, and, most importantly, courageous in ways that Varelians rarely appreciated. As they reached the central chamber, enemy forces appeared, automated drones designed to protect the core. Elias assessed the situation instantly. "We hold them off while my team secures the core," he commanded. "Varelians, cover our flanks," the battle erupted. Humans and Varelians fought side by side, combining instinct and discipline. Lyra watched in awe as Elias moved through the chaos, shielding his soldiers, redirecting their movements, and neutralizing threats with precision. One drone targeted Lyra, firing a burst of energy. Before she could react, Elias pushed her aside, taking the blast himself. He staggered but continued to command his team, ignoring his own pain. Lyra's chest tightened. This human, this soldier, was willing to risk everything to protect others, even her. The humans executed their plan flawlessly. They secured the core, deactivating the facility's security systems and preventing the technology from falling into enemy hands. Lyra observed the operation with a mix of admiration and disbelief. Humans were not just survivors, they were leaders, innovators, and heroes. When the battle ended, silence filled the chamber. Smoke and dust drifted through the air. Lyra approached Elias, who was catching his breath, bruised but unbroken. "Captain Kane," she said quietly, "I underestimated humans. And you," Elias gave a faint smile. "I told you, Commander. Strength isn't just muscle or technology. Sometimes it's heart, mind, and courage. Humans have that in ways you may not have expected." Lyra nodded, feeling a strange warmth. She realized that her prejudice had been wrong. Humans were capable of greatness, not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Your leadership, your instinct. "It's remarkable," Lyra admitted, her voice low. "I see now that humans can inspire others in ways Varelians cannot." Elias looked at her, understanding in his eyes. "Leadership is about trust and respect, not fear or authority. You gave me that and my team responded. That's how humans work. That's how we survive." Lyra studied him, reflecting on everything she had seen. His bravery under fire, his ability to inspire loyalty, his willingness to risk himself for others. He had challenged everything she believed about humans, and she was no longer certain she could return to her old perspective. That night, as the team rested in the facility's control room, Lyra observed the humans quietly. They tended to their wounded, shared rations, and maintained their vigilance. Even in moments of rest, they were alert, caring, and capable. Lyra realized something profound. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was not weakness. It was a form of strength that complemented Varelian precision perfectly, and Captain Elias Kane was the living embodiment of that truth. She approached him quietly, watching as he checked his team's equipment. "You've changed my understanding," she said softly. Elias looked up, meeting her gaze. "It's not about changing your mind, Commander. It's about showing you the truth. Humans are not perfect, but we have something worth respecting: courage, loyalty, and adaptability." Lyra nodded slowly. "I see that now. And I see you." Elias smiled faintly, but his eyes remained steady. "I'm just one human. But if I can make a difference, it's worth everything." Lyra felt a shift inside her. For the first time, doubt was replaced by recognition. Humans were not inferior. They were capable, courageous, and invaluable allies. Elias Kane had proven it, not through words, but through action. The mission was far from over. The facility contained secrets, dangers, and enemies yet to come. But Lyra knew one thing for certain. With humans like Elias by her side, they stood a chance. Not just to survive, but to succeed. As the twin moons of Orinthia cast silver light through the facility's tall windows, Lyra felt a cautious hope. Trust had been built, respect had been earned, and she realized that her journey, her understanding of humans, was only beginning. Captain Elias Kane had not only secured the facility's core, but had also secured a place in her mind and heart. A soldier who could inspire, protect, and lead had changed everything she believed about humans. The galaxy outside remained vast and indifferent, but inside that facility, a new alliance had formed. Humans and Varelians working together could face any challenge. And the bond between Lyra and Elias hinted at something greater, something that went beyond duty, beyond species, and into the realm of mutual respect and shared purpose. The turning point had come, and the future, though uncertain, looked brighter than Lyra had ever imagined. One human had proven that courage, adaptability, and loyalty could defy expectation, and one Varelian had learned to see beyond prejudice, opening the door to a partnership that might change the galaxy forever. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, Lyra believed in humans, and for the first time she believed in Elias. The research facility, which had seemed so secure moments ago, now shuddered under the sound of approaching warships. Enemy forces had detected their presence, and Orinthia's northern skies erupted with streaks of energy fire. The facility, once a place of silent anticipation, had become a battlefield. Commander Lyra stood at the control panel, her hands moving quickly to activate shields and alert systems. Beside her, Captain Elias Kane coordinated the humans, his calm presence standing out against the chaos. "We need to protect the core at all costs," he shouted. "Every soldier covers a sector. Don't leave anyone exposed." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight of the mission. The enemy was relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Varelian shields would hold for only so long, and the humans were outnumbered. But she trusted Elias. She had learned to trust humans, and in him she had seen courage that rivaled any Varelian warrior. The first wave of drones crashed into the outer perimeter. Explosions rocked the facility, shaking dust from the ceilings. Humans and Varelians moved in perfect coordination, combining precision with instinctive response. Elias darted between positions, redirecting fire, shielding injured soldiers, and taking out drones with calculated strikes. Lyra watched as Elias placed himself between a human soldier and an incoming blast. The soldier froze in shock, but Elias shoved him aside, taking the hit himself. Sparks flew as the energy struck his armor, and he stumbled, but he kept moving undeterred. "Captain Kane," Lyra called, alarmed. "You can't focus on the team, Commander," he shouted, pushing her out of harm's way. "I'll handle this." Lyra's chest tightened. This human, this soldier she had doubted once, was risking everything for others, her included. She realized then what she had not understood before. Courage was not about strategy alone. It was about selflessness, the willingness to put others before oneself. The battle intensified. Enemy forces breached the outer walls, and the facility's interior became a maze of gunfire and energy blasts. Elias's humans adapted instantly, covering each other, navigating traps, and neutralizing threats with ingenuity. Lyra directed the Varelians, coordinating precise strikes and shielding vulnerable points, yet the enemy was relentless. A group of heavily armed drones advanced toward the core, their energy cannons ready to destroy everything. Elias assessed the situation in a heartbeat. "I'll draw them away," he said. "Go, protect the core." Lyra shook her head. "No, you..." But Elias had already moved, sprinting toward the advancing drones. His human team followed, engaging the enemy with a mix of strategy and instinct. Lyra felt panic rise, but she forced herself to focus. The core had to be protected. Every soldier, human and Varelian alike, had to survive. The drones fired relentlessly. Elias dodged and weaved, placing himself between the enemy and his team. One drone locked onto him, energy beams aiming directly at his path. Without hesitation, he threw himself forward, absorbing the blast with his body. Sparks and smoke filled the air, and his armor was scorched, but he rose again, determined. Lyra's heart pounded. She had never seen such bravery. Not from any Varelian, not from any human she had known. Elias Kane was extraordinary, and she realized that this moment would define everything she thought she knew about courage. Meanwhile, his team used the distraction to disable the enemy's energy cannons. The drones faltered, giving the humans and Varelians an opening to secure the core. Lyra worked with precision, activating control panels, rerouting power, and reinforcing shields. Through the chaos, she caught sight of Elias, bruised and smoking, but still leading his team. He moved with purpose, shouting commands, protecting soldiers, and never hesitating. She felt a strange mix of awe and fear. This human had risked everything for the mission, and for them all. As the enemy retreated temporarily, Elias staggered to the side, leaning against a console. Lyra rushed to him, her eyes scanning his injuries. "Captain Kane, you can't keep..." He waved her off weakly, a faint smile on his lips. "The team. The core, safe. That's what matters. Lyra realized then that Elias's courage was not just physical, it was moral. He risked himself because he believed in something greater than survival. He believed in his team, in the humans, and now, in her. The battle continued, relentless and unforgiving. Yet the humans and Varelians fought with newfound unity, inspired by Elias's example. Soldiers moved beyond fear, adapting, thinking, and protecting each other. What had once been a group of disparate forces had become a single, coordinated unit. Lyra found herself beside Elias again, helping redirect fire and protect soldiers. She realized how much she had learned from him, not just about humans, but about leadership, courage, and trust. He had taught her that bravery was measured not by strength alone, but by the willingness to act for others. The final wave of enemies approached, more powerful and numerous than before. Elias glanced at Lyra, determination blazing in his eyes. "We finish this together," he said, voice steady despite exhaustion. They fought side by side, humans and Varelians moving as one. Every strike, every command, and every decision reflected the bond they had built. Lyra felt a deep respect for the humans around her, and for Elias most of all. At a critical moment, a massive drone targeted the facility's power core. It would have destroyed everything if not stopped immediately. Elias realized the only way to save the core and everyone was to lure the drone into a trap that required him to take the lead. "Go! Take cover!" he shouted, sprinting toward the drone, drawing its fire. Lyra's chest tightened, but she obeyed, directing her Varelians to safety. She watched as Elias faced the drone, dodging blasts and manipulating the environment to trap it. Sparks flew, metal bent, and the air filled with smoke. But Elias never faltered. Finally, the drone was destroyed, its remains scattered across the floor. The facility's core was safe, but Elias was badly injured. Leaning against the wall, breathing heavily, sweat and soot covering his face. Lyra ran to him immediately. "Captain Kane," she cried. "You could have been killed." He smiled faintly, exhaustion and relief mingling in his eyes. "Mission accomplished. That's what matters." Lyra felt a surge of admiration and gratitude. This human had risked everything for them all. She realized fully and completely that humans were capable of courage, loyalty, and selflessness in ways she had never imagined. She helped him to a secure area where medics could tend to his injuries. Watching him lie there, bruised and battered, Lyra felt a mix of emotions: relief, respect, and something deeper she could not yet name. For the first time, she understood that humans were not fragile. They were capable of extraordinary things, especially when led by someone like Elias Kane. And she realized that one soldier, one human, could change not just the course of a mission, but the way an entire species was perceived. The battle had tested them all. It had pushed humans and Varelians beyond fear and doubt, showing that unity, courage, and trust could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Lyra had witnessed selflessness in its purest form, and it had left a permanent mark on her mind and heart. As the dust settled and the enemy retreated, Lyra approached Elias again. "You've done more than save the facility," she said softly. "You've changed my understanding of humans. You've shown me courage, loyalty, and leadership in a way I never expected." Elias looked at her, his eyes steady despite fatigue. "We all have the ability to rise to the challenge, Commander. Humans, Varelians, it doesn't matter. What matters is what we do when the moment comes." Lyra nodded, feeling a warmth she had not expected. She had doubted humans once, believing them weak and fragile. Now she saw the truth. Humans were resilient, brave, and capable of greatness. And one soldier, Captain Elias Kane, had proven it. That night, as the twin moons of Orinthia cast silver light over the battle-scarred facility, Lyra reflected on everything she had witnessed. Courage was not just strength or skill. It was selflessness, adaptability, and the willingness to risk everything for others. Elias embodied all of it. The galaxy remained vast and uncertain, full of dangers yet to come. But Lyra knew one thing for certain. With humans like Elias Kane, there was hope. There was a future worth fighting for, and in that moment, she realized something else. One human had not only saved the mission, but had begun to change her entire perspective. The spark of admiration and trust had become a fire. And Lyra knew that the story of humans and Varelians working together had only just begun. One soldier's courage had rewritten the rules. The sun rose over Orinthia, casting soft light on the battle-scarred facility. Smoke still drifted from the remains of enemy drones, and scorched earth marked the path of the fierce conflict. The mission was complete. The research facility was secured and the technology within it was safe. But more importantly, bonds had been forged between humans and Varelians that would change the course of their future. Commander Lyra stood near the main entrance, watching the soldiers move with quiet efficiency. Humans tended to their wounded comrades, while Varelians reinforced the shields and repaired damaged systems. The two species worked side by side, no longer bound by prejudice or distrust. Elias Kane, bruised but standing tall, approached Lyra. His team had recovered from the battle, and morale was high. Yet Elias bore the marks of the sacrifice he had made, his body showing the strain of risking everything for the mission and his comrades. "You did it, Captain Kane," Lyra said softly, her voice full of respect. "The facility is secure and everyone survived because of your leadership." Elias shook his head. "We did it together, Commander. Humans and Varelians. Everyone played a part. I just led when I needed to." Lyra studied him, noting the humility in his words. Despite the heroism he had displayed, he spoke not of himself but of his team. She felt admiration, pride, and something deeper stirring within her. Elias Kane was more than a capable soldier. He was a symbol of courage, selflessness, and hope. The Varelian Council arrived later that day, observing the facility and the soldiers' performance. Lyra stood with them, presenting the outcome of the mission. "The humans have proven themselves," she said. Captain Kane and his team displayed courage, adaptability, and leadership that rival any Varelian force. Their actions have ensured the safety of this facility and the stability of this region. The council murmured among themselves. Lyra continued, her voice firm and clear. "It is time to reconsider our perception of humans. They are not fragile, unpredictable, or inferior. They are capable allies who bring unique strengths to the table. We must recognize and respect them as such." A silence followed, but one that felt different from before. Respectful, thoughtful. The council members glanced at the humans, nodding with newfound appreciation. Lyra felt a surge of satisfaction. Captain Kane had done more than secure the facility. He had challenged centuries of prejudice and reshaped the thinking of her people. Later, as the soldiers rested, Elias and Lyra walked together along the cliffside overlooking the planet's valleys. The air was crisp, and the twin moons of Orinthia lingered faintly in the sky, casting silver light across the rocks. "You changed my perspective," Lyra admitted quietly. "I doubted humans, believed them weak and incapable, but you proved me wrong." Elias smiled, though fatigue weighed heavily on him. "I only did what I had to. Humans have potential, yes, but it's the trust and cooperation between species that make us strong. You gave me that trust, Commander. You inspired us all." Lyra hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I underestimated more than just your species. I underestimated you. Personally. You've shown me courage, leadership, and loyalty in ways I never imagined possible." Elias met her gaze steadily. "I'm glad you see it now. It means more than you know, coming from you." For a long moment they stood silently, watching the sun rise and reflecting on everything that had happened. Lyra realized that her doubts about humans had been replaced by respect and admiration. And for the first time, she allowed herself to acknowledge something she had been resisting, a personal bond growing between them. The human and Varelian soldiers began to mingle, exchanging stories and laughter. The tension that had defined their first encounters was gone. Mutual respect and shared experience had created a new understanding. Humans were no longer seen as fragile outsiders. They were equals, capable of bravery and leadership. Lyra knew that this moment would be remembered for generations. The mission had not only secured critical technology, but had also demonstrated the power of unity, trust, and cooperation between species. Humans had earned their place among the galaxy's defenders, and one soldier, Elias Kane, had shown the way. As the day progressed, Lyra and Elias returned to the facility's control room. Soldiers were reporting status updates, systems were being restored, and communication lines were reopened. The mission was complete, but the impact of their actions would resonate far beyond Orinthia. "You've changed more than just my perception," Lyra said quietly, glancing at Elias. "You've changed the way Varelians will see humans in the future." Elias nodded. I hope so. Cooperation, respect, and trust can accomplish more than conflict and prejudice ever could. Lyra smiled faintly, feeling a warmth she had not expected. She realized that the bond between them was more than professional. It was built on mutual respect, trust, and shared experience. One human had not only proven his species' worth but had also touched her personally, inspiring admiration, confidence, and a sense of partnership she had never imagined possible. As the twin moons rose higher in the sky, Elias turned to her. Commander Lyra, what happens now? She considered the question carefully. Now we ensure that humans and Varelians work together. We rebuild trust, strengthen alliances, and prepare for the challenges ahead. The galaxy is vast, but together we can face it. Elias nodded, a faint smile forming. Then I'm ready. If humans and Varelians stand together, there's nothing we cannot overcome. Lyra felt a sense of hope swell within her. The journey had been long, filled with doubt, conflict, and danger. But the outcome was clear. Humans were not fragile. They were brave, resourceful, and capable of changing the course of history. And one soldier had shown her, and her people, that greatness could come from unexpected places. The soldiers began to celebrate quietly, marking the victory without fanfare, but with pride. Lyra watched, feeling a deep satisfaction. The mission had succeeded, and perceptions had shifted. Humans and Varelians could now see one another as equals, united by shared purpose and respect. Elias turned back to Lyra. You know, I never imagined that our first encounter would lead here. Lyra smiled softly. Nor did I, but perhaps some things are meant to change us. Some humans are meant to prove the impossible possible. They stood side by side, overlooking the valleys and cliffs of Orinthia. The stars above, once distant and indifferent, now seemed full of possibility. Lyra thought of the future, not just for humans and Varelians, but for their partnership, for the trust and courage that could reshape the galaxy. For the first time, she believed in humans fully. She believed in Elias Kane fully, and she allowed herself to hope that this mission, this bond, and this new understanding would lead to a future where courage, respect, and unity defined their path forward. The facility had been secured. The mission was complete. But the story of humans and Varelians had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. One soldier had proven that doubt could be replaced with trust, that fear could be replaced with courage, and that one human could change everything. Lyra and Elias stood together, looking toward the horizon. The wind whispered through the cliffs, carrying the promise of a new era. They had faced danger, defied expectations, and discovered the power of unity. And now the future, bright, uncertain, and full of possibilities, awaited them. For the first time, Lyra did not doubt the humans. She did not doubt herself, and she no longer doubted that a bond forged in courage, respect, and trust could change everything. The galaxy was vast, but together they could shape its destiny. The journey of doubt, courage, and transformation had reached its peak, and one soldier, one human, had shown that even the smallest spark could ignite a future bright with hope.